everybody today.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Shockingly Delightful.
Because we are shockingly delightful.
No, you're just delightful. I'm shockingly delightful.
I know you, so I think you're always delightful.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Challengingly delightful sometimes, but delightful nonetheless.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. You're just delightful. Why don't you tell us
Well,
who you are?
I'm Michelle with Moksha Grace Coaching, and I coach clients on how to take control over their emotions so that their emotions do not take control over them and liberate themselves from being controlled so that they can actually control the one thing they have control over, which is their response to situations and to people, to the world around them. So, yeah, I break that illusion.
Gotcha. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
And I am Krista with Wicked Wisdom Consulting. I am a fractional COO and ops consultant. And today's topic is gobble, gobble, gobble. And today's all about fun.
Can we say that with a little bit more fun, please?
Today's episode is gobble, gobble, gobble.
There you go. We actually, we had turkeys across the street, and so we could hear them.
They're still there.
No, a raccoon ate them all.
No. Okay, well then we know it was picking off a couple of our chickens. But literally every time we would leave and they would hear the car door shut, you would hear.
And they're so weird looking. With their like.
If you don't know turkeys.
Well, I'm just saying they're just like this very interesting looking animal because they have these like bluish heads, and it's just you just don't realize it until you see one.
Butts.
Well, so anyway, as you were saying, sorry to interrupt you. Today's episode.
Oh, today's episode is gobble, gobble, gobble. And we're going to be talking about our favorite Thanksgiving stories, and we would love to hear yours as well. So feel free to comment and share some of your favorite anecdotes. Why don't we start by talking about what we're most looking forward to for Thanksgiving?
My stuffing.
Okay. I'm looking forward to my homemade bread being used in your stuffing.
Well, that's why I'm looking forward to my stuffing. I love my stuffing every single year. And just so everyone knows, like I make stuffing from scratch. So,
yeah.
And now it's even more from scratch.
Yeah, it's like uber from scratch because I even made a giant vat of stock yesterday. I roasted a chicken last week. That way we would have fresh stock for everything in Thanksgiving dinner. So we're going to have homemade sourdough bread, homemade sourdough onion bread, homemade stock. The vegetables are not grown here. That's the only thing that's not. But the eggs even are from our own chickens. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I think.
And all of that goes into my stuffing. My stuffing is a mosh posh of vegetables, hard-boiled eggs, and bread upon bread upon bread. And so I get very excited because we leave the bread out, we let it get stale, and then maybe I pick a piece here and there because it's just fun and it's good. And then we just mush it all together. And what's so funny is every single year, so I'll start off with a fun story. So every single year, and especially last year, we didn't have as many people. And so we were like, we always have a whole second tray as a leftover. Let's not make as much stuffing this year.
Right.
And that's with 2 trays cooked on the table and then 1 extra that gets frozen. And then we find it a year later and went, oh, we had stuffing.
You mean the one? Never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, the one you probably just threw away like last week. That was from last year.
No, it's still in there. You actually wrote on it this year. We wrote for Christmas 2023. It's now November 2024.
Yeah. So I really did my best to pull back on my
You
recipe
really did
and
try.
my ingredients, but for some reason, somehow I still ended up
I'll
with
tell you
3
why.
trays.
Because your recipe is not, you don't measure anything. You
No.
measure with your heart. And so
Yes.
as you're going through it, you're like, this doesn't feel right. I should add more. This doesn't feel right. I should add more. And then we just end up with the same amount every single year.
Well, I mean, there's only one measurement that I use for the whole entire stuffing, and that is the bowl that I mix it all in.
Which, go ahead and tell everyone what I found you last year.
You found me a bowl, a new bowl.
So, okay, but hold on, let's give context. So, for as long as I've been alive, you've been using a giant, like giant
Giant.
plastic punch bowl from like Party City back in the day, from probably the 80s or 90s. And I
Pretty
mean,
sure it was from my wedding.
oh, even better, from the 90s. Uh,
1990, yeah.
Giant plastic bowl, and you can see it starting to get, you know when plastic starts to crack, but like internally, and so you can't feel the crack on the inside, like inside or outside,
Yeah.
but you can see it's cracking. It was starting to crack. So I happened to be at Ross. If you don't, I think everyone knows what Ross is, but Ross is like
Store.
like a like a TJ Maxx or Marshalls type of thing. I think everyone should probably get it by that. And I happened to cut through an aisle to get out of a line, to get away from a line, and there was a giant metal bowl.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let me just see how much it is. It was $4. $4. And it was, I mean, humongous. And it was heavy duty metal, stainless steel, a good brand
Yeah.
for $4.
That was a find.
And I went in for something totally unrelated, and I came home and I was like, I'm sorry, but I could not leave this behind.
Right.
How often do you find this?
And I
And
think
it's for $4.
I think I was still stubborn because,
You were.
I'm
Mhm.
never stubborn,
You
but
know what? You're right. I got it a couple years ago because only last year was the first year that you
yeah.
used it because you
And
were
that was
stupid.
because I started to make the stuffing, and when I put in the evaporated milk, which I guess is the one not organic,
No,
um,
it's organic.
but I poured it in, and I remembered we noticed that there was some leakage,
Oh, I don't remember that.
and I was like, "Oh, oh."
And all those 90s plastics just leaching into our food.
And you were like, "Aren't you glad I bought that bowl?" And we had to transfer everything into the bowl, and I was like, "Okay." But I
Always
was like, "Can
thinking
we at
ahead.
least keep the bowl so I can measure the bread, so I can chop up all the bread, keep it in
It's
that
the
one bowl,
same
so
size.
that I could flip it into?" But I had to see it and visually know that it was the same size. It's just being like this creature of I mean, I've used that bowl for
You're
like
just, you're
almost
just,
30
it's
years.
called, it's, a creature of habit is the nice way of saying stubborn.
Okay, okay. Well, now it's, it's a moot point. It's
Moot
moot.
point. Yeah, it's a
It's a
moot
moot
point.
point. So there you go. So tell us a funny story that you haven't told before. Ha ha ha.
That was very, I haven't seen the Barbie movie, but the clip I've seen of Ken from the Barbie movie where he goes, oh.
Ha.
Um, I mean, I hinted to it in the description for this episode, but it always cracks me up. It's one of my favorite stories. I was probably 13, and it was the first year you were going to let me make cranberries by myself. I was taking care of the cranberries, and it was Thanksgiving morning, and the parade was on, and it must have been, so I got the cranberries started, got them in the pan, got everything going, had it on the normal temperature that you cook them on. And oh, don't worry, Jenny. We'll get to some of those too. Jenny said she doesn't really have any funny stories. Don't worry, we'll get into that, and then you can share yours too. Anyway, so there was something on the parade that I wanted to watch, evidently. So, and our kitchen was right next to the family room to try to paint the scene. So I ran to the couch and I was watching, and all of a sudden something was burning. You could smell that it was burning. I think you were probably like getting ready for the day, whatever. And at the time, we had the type of alarm system that it would, if you didn't respond in a certain amount of time, in a certain window of time, it would just automatically call the police, the fire department, whatever the trigger was. And so the sugar was boiling over because, fun fact, cranberry sauce is basically 50 sugar to
Yes.
fruit and water. So it's basically burning cranberry candy on the stove and smoking like crazy. And we knew, like, when you don't get to the alarm system in time. And so all of a sudden, we lived right down the street from a fire department. All of a sudden, a fire truck pulled up in front of our house. And my dad looked at me and he goes, "Well, get up. You're going to go talk to him." I remember you saying that all the blood drained from my face, and I remember being like, "I'm not going out there." And he's like, "No, you're going out there. You didn't want to watch your cranberries. You can go out and talk to the firemen." I'm not going out there. And so he went out and talked to them, whatever. And I was so mortified. But the best part is it literally almost or happens to me every single year. Even if I am only making cranberries,
Mm-hmm.
at that moment, I will still either almost boil them over, or it'll burn a little bit on the bottom of the pan. And I'm a great cook. I do a lot of the cooking, but there's something about cranberries that I think it's just like the hot sugar part. That sugar
Mm-hmm.
burns very easily, and so if you're not constantly mixing it, if it boils over, whatever, it burns easily. And so when you're the chef of the house, you're doing a lot of different things, and so it's easy to get distracted.
So
Not saying
now,
that you don't cook. I'm just saying I feel like I'm like known as a chef in our family.
so now we make the cranberry sauce a couple days early.
No, the
And
day
then,
before.
well, and then, well, one, when it sits, it actually gets even better and it's just so good. And then you
Which,
can
fun
use it
fact,
for breakfast stuff
I was
and
gonna say I made cranberry jelly, basically just cranberry sauce with I let it cook
Mhm.
down a little bit more so it was more solid than
Oh
liquid,
yeah.
and we've used it on. You can get been getting turkey from Whole Foods. That's just turkey. It's not like normal lunch meat. So you get that turkey that tastes just like a carved turkey from
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. Put the cranberry sauce as if it were mayonnaise. You can add mayonnaise too on the other slice.
So
So
good.
good.
And the cranberry recipe is my grandfather's recipe, Papu's recipe.
Really
Mhm.
interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know it by heart now because I've been making it for 16 years. No. Yes. Yes. Holy.
Probably. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. There's
What
uh
is time?
apple in it
Shh.
and
Don't give away my recipe.
sorry. It's
Shh.
really good.
I'll just say this. It is not what's on the back of the bag. All right.
Yeah. We add stuff to
You
it.
add in
That
some
Papu
stuff.
told us to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, you measure by your heart. There's very little on Thanksgiving that you measure by, except for the baked goods. Everything else you measure with your heart.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, we're sharing Thanksgiving stories, fun or otherwise. We can laugh, we can cry, we're open. So definitely let us know if you have a story to share, and give us a little synopsis.
I mean, I
Uh,
have a meeting later, so I'd prefer not to cry because it'll mess up my makeup. But
you know,
yeah, it's fine.
yeah. I
Oh my god! Oh, go ahead. I have a
No, I was
funny
gonna say
story.
one of my favorite things is as I'm making the stuffing is
Mhm.
to taste it, because I
Mhm.
mean everything in it is cooked, and so you're just tasting it. But when we put the broth in it, the stock and all
Mhm.
the seasonings, there's a certain taste, and I'll
Yeah.
know, like, okay, I've
Mhm.
reached that point
Yeah.
where it now has the right amount of seasoning that I can put it in
Mhm.
a pan.
Yeah.
So good.
You're really good at it too. Like it's really incredible. You
And we
just know
only
your
make it
recipe
once a
that well.
year.
Yeah, but when you do it for 25, 30 years, it once a year is enough.
Why have we never thought about taking the extra tray and freezing it in smaller portions so we could use it for like a side at dinner instead of a whole tray?
Because it's a tray of bread. You kind of need an excuse to eat a slab of bread cut up into cubes with
Oh.
stuff mixed into it. It's kind of like sweet potato casserole. You kind of need an excuse to eat that much carbohydrates and sugar mixed together.
Oh god. I will say that's like my favorite dish. But anyway.
I specifically asked you, what specific dishes do you want for Thanksgiving? And you said, nah, I don't need to have that. Okay. Let's see, Jenny, thank you for sharing. My biggest Thanksgiving story is how utterly dry my grandmother's turkey was every stinking year. It was awful. I'm not a huge turkey fan in general. I feel you there.
Yeah.
Well, not anymore, but we do a larger fried turkey, and then I cook a smaller turkey inside. So we have baked and fried, but that's the baked ones more so we have the gravy.
Yeah. Well, and like we can get the wishbone from the fried turkey too. But
Mhm.
I remember the first year, like your father was like, "Well, we're gonna fry a turkey," and I was like, "Well, wait, how am I gonna have gravy?"
Mhm.
Like I don't even think I thought about it until after, like
Which
as we were going to put gravy on the table, and I was like, "Oh my
oh
god, that's
no.
what I forgot." Like, how do we make?
Oh yeah,
And
you're
so I
too
had
laid
to
back.
use, yeah, like I had to use like just George Washington, which was this
Seasoning.
seasoning that I had tons of always, and
We
I think I
bought it in bulk.
used, yeah, I used to have that, and so I think I used that, and I conjured up something and called it gravy. But I mean, so that's why we all have to have a second turkey, because how else are you going to get?
I will say, Whole Foods this year, I've never seen it before, and I was so excited about it that I literally exclaimed out loud to the point that the butcher looked over to see who was saying what. They had um, what's it called when they're all mixed together?
Giblets.
They
The
had the
giblets.
giblets in a pack frozen that you could buy just the giblets. But you can also, if you're in that boat and
Mhm.
you're frying your turkey, maybe for the first time, you need to make gravy, you can use the giblets. We can actually ask butchers for the giblets and they'll give you the giblets. You can take, like I did, a chicken, roast a chicken, or just stick the whole chicken in the
Mhm.
pot with veggies and
Yep.
stock, put it in there. Pro tip, put in the skin of the onion and it'll help bring out golden color in the stock. Um, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's also I found you really brining your turkey makes a big difference too, especially when you're baking it. Or
I was
just
going
get
to
what?
I was gonna say, I'm still nervous about the brining and the frying, because I've heard people do it. You brine the turkey, and then you're supposed to put the turkey in the oil, but then it's
Do
got
you think
liquid
the
in it.
turkey? It's not like you're shoving liquid inside of it. You're just basically what you're doing is you're soaking. So what happens is when you brine, whether it's a wet brine or there's also
Mhm.
a dry brine, and I usually do a dry brine because
Mm.
I don't who
Yeah.
has the room for a giant vat of turkey in liquid. Um, the salt helps tenderize the meat, and then you wipe it all off. So even if it's in a wet brine,
Oh.
the salt is starting to, and actually usually it's like a salt and sugar mix because the sugar actually helps tenderize along with the salt and it helps soften the meat and break it down a little bit. So that
Hmm.
way you then rinse it off and wipe all the salt off. That's why like typically brined won't increase the salt in the meat. It's just breaking it down.
Oh, see, I didn't
Yeah.
know that. See, that is just a shockingly delightful piece of
You know,
information.
I'm here year round if you guys have questions about that.
A turkey. Jenny, you should fly down and join us for Thanksgiving. That's what you should do.
Yeah, there you go.
You're absolutely welcome.
So I have a funny story, and I think it was Thanksgiving, but now I'm questioning if it was Christmas. But I still think it's one of the funniest stories. Is so um, we all know about mace, and people, especially women, carry mace around as a self protection thing. And
I forgot about
I think at this particular year, it must have been on my keychain or whatever,
Yes, it was your
and it
keychain.
was sitting on like a shelf.
Yeah.
And somebody in the family, I'm not going to say who, I don't want to out them. Somebody in the family picks it up. Hey, Raymond. Oh, Raymond, you'll love this story. I'm
Hey,
talking about
Raymond,
mace
and
and
it
like,
wasn't me.
no, it wasn't you. Um, somebody picked up my keychain with the mace on it, and goes, "Oh, what's this?" Let me pause there, set the scene. We've got it was literally right next to the kitchen table, and we at this point, all of our older family members were still alive. So two sets of grandmothers, two sets of grandfathers, like or
Yeah,
I guess it would be a set of grandfathers. A set, there were there were
we're
probably
all there.
there were 4 to 6 older individuals at the table who were not so mobile, didn't move very quickly. So this individual picks up the mace, not knowing what it is, and goes, "What's this?" and pushes the little lever on it. Which, by the way, you have to twist the cap a little bit to get the lever ready to
Of
push
course.
down. Pushes down on the little lever and releases Mace into the house towards the dining room table where 4 to 6 elderly individuals are sitting. So this person maced our entire family. And naturally it went up into the air circulation and so ended up
Yeah.
basically macing the whole house. Um, and all of the seniors had to be escorted outside because they couldn't figure out why their eyes and nose and face was burning a little bit.
And it's Florida, and it was not a cold front. And
No, it wasn't a cold
so
front. So then
we had
all
to
the
open
windows
up
had to
all the
be
windows. Right, we
open.
had to open up the windows, we all had to stand outside,
Yep.
pause the cooking,
Yep.
and we had to wait to go back inside, and
Yep.
then, the AC had to, like, cool everything back down
Yep.
again.
Luckily, it had been expired for like, I don't know, 10 years, so it wasn't quite as strong. And that's also why I don't carry mace anymore.
And really lucky that the person wasn't pointing it at their own
Oh my God,
family.
I would have lost my mind laughing if they maced themselves in the face.
That's
That would
so
have been, oh,
not funny,
that would have been
but kind
amazing.
of.
No, because this was a younger individual, not me,
Mhm.
but a
It
younger
was a
individual.
teen.
He or she would have been fine.
Yeah, yeah, they would have been fine. But yeah, so macing your family, that is a way to distract. We've talked about,
Mm-hmm.
when everyone needs a break in the house, you know,
I
uh
don't work. I would just stick with what we talked about last Thursday, which is pretend you got to take the garbage out or the dog out. Don't
yeah,
mace your whole family.
don't mace your whole family.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing. Yeah, no.
Mm-mm.
Raymond, you got any good Thanksgiving stories? Because, we're that's what we're doing. We're sharing. Um yeah, I my first Thanksgiving, uh I not married. We were living together, which it was in
Scandalous.
sin. I know. My grandmother, we told my great grandmother that I lived with my girlfriend, but his voice was on our message machine because it wasn't safe for two women to live alone together, and you
So
know,
real quick, you're saying you lived with your now husband as a
yes,
young person, but had
yes.
to tell her grandmother that she lived with a friend of hers. There we go.
Thank you for
You're welcome.
clarifying.
Yeah.
But this was the first Thanksgiving that we had like kind of come out and like admitted to the fact that we were engaged, we were getting married, like all's good, but
And living together.
and we're living together. And so for whatever reason, I decided to invite them to have Thanksgiving at my house at our apartment, and we
Hmm.
lived over by the beach. And so they come over, and when they came down from Palm Beach, which is an hour and a half away. So they came when they
30,
came down.
45 minutes if you're a
Okay, my
Floridian.
point is that when you come down for the entire day. So like they came in the morning, and Yaya was going to help me cook and teach me some things. It was my first of all, I cooked the giblets in the turkey. I left him in there. I didn't realize you were supposed to take them out.
Oh,
So
that's
that
amazing.
happened. And
That's an easy mistake to make because I'll tell you what, when I got this chicken last week, they were stuffed up in there, which where I thought there were
where the
no
sun
giblets at
didn't
first.
shine.
So it's an easy mistake to make.
So I made the sides, and and I don't remember everything. I do have a picture of it somewhere. But we kept looking at our watch cuz my soon to be husband was not home because he had taken his surfboard and he had gone to the beach, because every year on Thanksgiving there always seems to be waves. Like there's a cold
Listen,
front or there's something.
if you know
And
Florida, you know we do not get good waves often, all right?
yeah. And so he would always go to the beach and surf. And
Mhm,
so I was like, okay, well, just make sure that you're home by like 3 o'clock. Cause, they're older, they want to eat. And so they could drive home and not be in the dark.
mhm.
So it was like 3, and then it was like 3:30, and then it was like 4. And my grandfather, Papu, was getting very upset. Where is he? And he raised a surfer, so he knows as well, like, what happens when they go to the beach, and I'm just gonna check the waves. And he ended up driving to the beach, found him, and brought him home. And yeah, and so that was the very first Thanksgiving that I hosted, almost minus my beloved. But my grandfather brought him home to me. Papu brought him home.
Was that the last time he ever went surfing on Thanksgiving?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, okay.
No, because Yaya said to me, as when they were gone, because I was so upset.
I know
And
what she's about to say. This is a very good love lesson right here. Go ahead.
yes, you have to accept the person for who they are. If you're going to spend the rest of your life with them, you have to accept them for who they are, the good, the bad, the indifferent, the things that you wish you could change about them. It's not you. You have to change your perspective.
Yeah.
He loves the water. He's a surfer. And if I thought I was going to change that, I would be insane and I wouldn't want to. That's why I fell in love with him. So she reminded me of that. And Papu was wonderful and brought him home. And we were able to sit down and have a nice meal. Granted, it was room temperature, but it's good. It was all delicious.
That's a beautiful story.
So, Raymond and Jenny both, because you said you didn't have any funny stories. See, these stories don't have to be funny in the moment, they can just be learning lessons.
And a lot
And
of times I find that funny stories now were not funny stories when they happen.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And I told Jenny and Raymond the story yesterday about how one year we ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for Thanksgiving because there was an argument when we went to Thanksgiving and I had to leave my food that I had made
We went to
in the
somebody
oven.
else's house.
We went to somebody else's house and there was an argument. I probably because we were late for surfing now that I think about it. And we my husband said, "Let's go, grab the kids." We grabbed the kids and I left the food behind and we went home and I made some really good amazing peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that I think I even used a cookie cutter to make them into turkeys
That's
because that
probably
would be something
why
I would do.
that's probably just why we all love PB&Js. Is the
Exactly.
nostalgia of that Thanksgiving. So,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Listen, PB&Js can make anything better.
Oh, 100%. Now, we haven't talked about a big part of our Thanksgiving tradition for like 17 years that we did it. And I totally forgot about it. And then all of a sudden, I remembered what the description of this episode was. And I was like, oh, snap. That's a big thing to mention. So, as you all know, I had cancer when I was 3. And, well, you want to tell the part about how your mom started it?
Yeah, so Krista was diagnosed well, we were in the hospital November 3rd. She was diagnosed November 5th,
1998. Can you please say the whole story, please?
1998.
Thank you.
And we were in the hospital and they had started giving her chemo after some time. And Krista lost her appetite. She didn't want to eat, and they couldn't send us home because she wouldn't eat, and she had um, like she was on TPN, the feeding stuff, and the IV, and they wouldn't send us home. And it was Thanksgiving, and we just had to deal with the fact that we were going to be in the hospital for Thanksgiving. And as we typically did, we made the best of it and said, home is where the heart is, and our heart is in the bed. And so, therefore, this is our home anyway. It's our home away from home. And we're just going to make the best of it. Well, my mom decided that she was going to really make the best of it. And so she literally made a full Thanksgiving dinner, and her and Bobby, my stepfather, brought all of it to the hospital. And we sat down, we set the table, we sat down. She brought everything, rolls and butter and the plates and the napkins and just everything. And we had this amazing, wonderful Thanksgiving. But as soon as she started walking in the room and Krista could smell Thanksgiving and, all those different flavors, then Krista got hungry. And
It's really no surprise that I still have an emotional thing with food. Hearing that story, it makes sense.
mm-hmm, yeah, yeah,
And so after that year, when I got better, and I was cancer free, well, in remission and then cancer free, we decided to go back and bring Thanksgiving dinner to those that were in the hospital for Thanksgiving that had been in my shoes. And we did that for, I think it was like 17 plus years. And it started out with just us and our
we
nuclear
stopped at
family.
20.
And, huh?
We stopped at 20.
Okay, we did it for 20 years. And it grew from just the 4, 5, 6 of us to having friends of friends, acquaintances, people we'd never met before wanting to contribute as well. And we ended up, what used to be just like having food in a small little like side room ended up being that we needed to reserve a full meeting room with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 12 long tables put
Yeah.
together worth of food. I mean, absolutely everything. At one point we had I believe it was a Cuban family that would bring
Mm-hmm.
the Cuban Thanksgiving staples, so rice and beans, the pork, yuca, you
Mm-hmm.
name it. We had a friend of ours who would bring vats of homemade mashed potatoes, and that was the thing. All of it had to be homemade.
That
We
was
would
that
the
was my
only thing
one
we ever
rule.
the only thing we ever allowed that wasn't homemade was like Costco pumpkin pies, because some people love Costco pumpkin pies, and so okay, fine. But everything had to be homemade because we wanted those that were on. We started with the oncology unit, which is a cancer unit, and we would say everyone from the oncology unit, come get your first grabs, for two reasons. One, because that's close to home, and two, they need the food to be as not germy as possible.
Yeah.
And so we would have them come first. Then we would bring out, they would call the other units to come. And then after that, we would still have plenty of food. So then the nurses even and the doctors
Yeah.
would come and grab their plates. But it always started with the oncology unit. And it was really something special. It got to the point where we had the hospital set up tables outside the rooms, that way people could sit and come out of the room to eat if they wanted to eat
Mm-hmm.
together as a family, away from the hospital room. And it was amazing. And then a few of the last couple of years, maybe the last 5 or 6 years, we had the local elementary school. The kids would make little get well
Oh,
cards.
yeah.
That was really cute. We definitely had to screen them because some
Yes.
of the kids, kids don't really know better,
Yeah.
and so some of them were like, "I hope you don't die," and that was a little weird. So those
That's
those we had to
not
take
the
out.
card you wanna give to a
No.
the
So,
kid.
we had to screen them, but it was a very sweet gesture. And it was really wonderful while we did it. And so every Thanksgiving looked like we would go nuts. We had to make everything the day before, pretty much, or prep it the day before, because
Prep it.
Thanksgiving morning was get up, get the turkey in the oven, get dressed, and go to the hospital by like noon. And so then we would be there from noon to 3, noon to 4, and then rush home and try to put together our Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
And so there was always this like massive pressure to try to get everything done.
Yeah,
Um,
so it was 2 Thanksgivings in
yeah,
one day, and the night
yeah.
before,
Well, and hold
we
on. So for the people, so imagine, most people, let's say, cook for between 10 to 20 people. We were cooking for 100
yeah,
plus.
Well, and we didn't even know half the time, but yeah.
Right. We were just winging
Um,
it.
yeah. And we would go the night before and we would like set up the room. I
Mhm.
had a big board, one of those like science project boards that I would put pictures of Krista, and it was,
Our story.
the Barone Thanksgiving, annual Thanksgiving dinner. And it was the story of why we did it. Like, what was the purpose? Because I felt that it was very important for other people to understand why we were doing it, and also it brought them hope. Like, wow,
Yeah.
look at this family. Like, they're on this new side of normal, and look at
Mhm.
what they're doing. And
Yeah.
because there were some people that I knew of families that their kids would survive or not survive, and they could not walk back into the hospital.
Mhm.
And so not only were we walking back in the hospital because we love the hospital, and I also started working there, but it became a home. Like, it was our place. Like, it was
Yeah.
just somewhere that it was normal to be.
I wouldn't say
um
it was our home, but we were comfortable there.
yeah, we were very comfortable. But I mean, the nurses, the doctors, they were like, "Are you doing things?" Like, I would get stopped in the hallway starting like a couple weeks beforehand. "I just found out I'm going to be here for Thanksgiving. You're bringing the food, right?" And I'm like, "We gotcha. We're going to be here." And then it just got like people that were in the hospital for Thanksgiving that took part. And then the also the cafeteria would bring up
Oh, the
they would
hot
bring us
trays.
the trays. Well,
Mhm, the
the
hot
hot
trays.
trays they would have, but they would also brought us trays so that people could take the food back to their
Mhm.
rooms, because the oncology kids couldn't always come out. And so they even gave us like the food trays so that they could, put stuff there. And we had sodas. And but what was always amazing to me was that the people that were there in the hospital would then contact me or even say that day, like, "Next year I want to be a part of this."
Yeah.
And that was really cool.
Yeah.
And fun fact that not I don't really talk about a lot, but the very first Thanksgiving that we did,
Mhm.
we walked in um to the hospital, and I remember what unit it was. It was on South. And there was a very it was a story that was in the news. It was a good story. The person is fine, but they had come over on a boat from Cuba. And if anyone remembers back in 99, 2000, you'll know who I'm talking about. And he was sitting right there, and he got some of our food. Like, that was his first Thanksgiving in America. And so that was really cool, because we didn't realize until we got home who that was. And then we were like, oh, interesting.
Do I need to Google this right now? Why are you not allowed to say
I
the
mean,
name?
well, I mean, I think it's HIPAA. I mean, I don't know. Is it HIPAA 20 years later? I
You
don't
should have
know.
just said someone from a news story and not
It
what
was
would I Google to find this?
um child brought from Cuba.
Okay, this is gonna I don't have time for this on our show. I'll try to do it later.
I'm sure
Um,
that anyway, but so
anyway,
it was really cool. In that first year, we literally served it. And Raymond, you've been everyone's been in a hospital. The nurses stations, and we served it on like the ledge of the nurses station. Like, that
mhm,
was the first Thanksgiving, because we didn't know like what to do. We didn't have like a room set up. We just brought food and then put it all out, and everyone was very grateful. But it was not as organized as the
no.
next year.
And just for the record, the only reason we stopped was because there was when Michelle left the hospital that we were doing at, they handled it poorly, and so
Yeah.
we were no longer welcome based on their own feelings. So unfortunate, and hopefully someone else picked it up doing it, because it was a wonderful 20 years, and it was a blessing to have done that.
Yeah. And it actually started somebody else doing They
Christmas, yeah.
kinda did Christmas a little bit, it was more about, like, goodies,
Mm,
but they started doing Easter. A whole
mm,
group started doing Easter, which was really cool. So we
yeah.
started this whole tradition of people bringing food in. And listen, the cafeteria was serving Thanksgiving. I just
It's
for
not home
me,
cooked, I'm
it
sorry, it's
yeah,
not.
and that was my point was I wanted those people were there, they deserved a homemade meal that was made with love, and we took care because we were an oncology family, so we understood, like, you know, the environment had to be clean, we had gloves, we did everything that we needed to do to make sure that the oncology kids that were in the hospital, doing their battle, that they were safe. That was always, like, my biggest fear, like, "Oh my gosh." And
Um,
nothing ever happened.
us talking about germs made me think of, remember that one Thanksgiving where we had a miniature beagle at the time, and we had made a bunch of pumpkin pies, some of which were going to the hospital and some we kept home, and this miniature beagle, like,
Miniature is the
yeah,
key
miniature. So
word.
she was small, and she was known for getting up on like she would figure out a way to get on tables to eat things. She once ate an entire chocolate cake. How she lived to be 14, I don't know. But she was probably maybe 7 at the time, 7 or 8,
Mhm.
and she got on top of the table and ate half of the pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
And
You could see her, like,
yeah,
nose, like,
uh-huh.
she just ate this, like,
And
little
she was
half
strategic about it
circle.
too, because it was while we went to get ready to go to the hospital and we left our
Yeah,
pies on the table
to cool.
to cool. Well, no, well, maybe to cool. Anyway, they were on the table. She was very strategic and she waited until we went to get ready to get on the table, and we came out to her nose deep in a pumpkin pie.
Yeah, yeah. That one stayed home with us, and we just
Yeah,
cut around it, and then we ate the other half.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Which, I mean, now having farm animals, I feel like we wouldn't have even bothered. Like, if it happened today, I feel like we wouldn't have even bothered to cut the piece out. We would just be like,
I
whatever.
mean, if it were one of the goats, I'd probably clear out the
I'm just saying,
section.
well, yeah, if it's the ghost, but I'm saying, like, when you have farm animals, there's some things that you just go,
Just kinda
okay. Not when we're cooking our food. This sounds weird. I don't mean that we're not. Never mind.
ah! So Jenny, did we spark any stories, funny stories? Because see, anything can be funny. Um, right
I'm
now we
trying
have
to think of
pumpkins everywhere, so being able to go out into the goat yard and, like, slam a pumpkin on
a
the ground,
pumpkin.
a pumpkin. I throw a pumpkin on the ground and it busts open, which is really fun,
See,
actually.
I do it a little bit differently. Let me see if I can pull up the video on my phone.
You probably do it, like, well organized. I just, like, throw that thing right on the edge of a piece of wood, let it crack open, and then I rip it apart with my bare hands.
No, I do. I just take a knife and beat the hell out of it until it breaks in half.
My god.
You gotta work smarter, not harder. So the thing is, you put the knife into it and then you
Yeah.
slam it on on the thing, and that way you don't have to like push so hard with the knife. You just slam it on the brick and it breaks.
Wow.
Smarter, not work smarter, not harder.
Those
Hmm.
were the mini pumpkins, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
I'm trying to
So,
think. Let's see. So what's your favorite Thanksgiving tradition?
my stuffing.
No, that's what you're most looking forward to. What's your favorite tradition?
My favorite tradition, I mean, sitting down at the table. Okay, for me, sitting down at the table and watching everybody else enjoying the food because I don't eat because I've been picking all day long.
It's
So
also called
so
it's
I'm
also
not
called
hungry.
adrenaline rush.
Well, that too. And I'm not hungry by the time it gets to so my favorite Thanksgiving tradition is to sit down the day after with my actual plate,
There it is. Thank you.
nice and quiet. The dishes
This
are
is coming from the
done.
hostess with the mostest.
Yeah, the dishes are done. Everything's put away for the most part. And I can just sit and I can taste every little piece of the food that was made because you're not in the middle of all the craziness and the chaos. So it's just my quiet time with my plate of ridiculous amounts of carbs. Yeah. And then I don't want to ever see turkey again until the next year. What's your
What's my
favorite?
I was gonna say, what's mine? I'm so glad you asked. Thank you.
And we're going to ask all of you. So make sure that you're going to put something in the comment. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
put your favorite
Start
Thanksgiving.
typing now. What is your favorite tradition?
Hold on, please.
Or one that you're going to put into place?
My favorite Thanksgiving tradition is ever since I was as early as elementary school. I always take off the day before Thanksgiving on Wednesday, and me and my mom, you, Michelle, we cook all day in the kitchen, and it's wonderful. And it became a thing. Like my teachers knew throughout high school. I took the day off before Thanksgiving. I'm not going to be here. If you need me for something, let me know ahead of time. I always let my clients know, like Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I'm out of the office. I will be cooking all day. That's what we do. We put on Christmas music on the little stereo system. Well, stereo system. How retro is that stereo system? No, on the speaker.
Are you sticking in a cassette tape?
Lord. On the speaker, we put Christmas music, and in the last few years, we already have our Christmas tree up by that time. So it's chef's kiss. Great day.
Yeah.
That and cookie baking day are probably tied, but that probably more because we get to cook together. Where cookie baking day, you usually do like one cookie and then you're like, yeah, I'm done. I'm gonna go hang out over here.
Yeah, that's might be the ADHD in me. And I get like
No, I
halfway
think that's
I get like
your.
halfway done with the rum balls and I'm like, "Oh my god, I need a break." And then I just
And then
like,
the break lasts 8 hours long.
yeah. Yeah, at least. And then
I
I
will say
but I do
you do help out with the dishes, so I appreciate that.
and tasting the dough. That's
Oh,
very important.
I'm so grateful for that. It could
That
have been
is
another
very
cookie, but
important.
you know,
Well, the other tradition that, we've mentioned, but we didn't like really like say is one of our
position.
favorites.
Oh, tradition.
Tradition, which is a favorite, is watching the Macy's Day Parade. Granted,
Yeah.
we don't know who anybody is anymore, but it's still interesting.
I'm going to look that up. Last year, they had a Macy's. See, they got smart. They had a Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade
Mhm.
shop online where you could buy pajamas, you could buy of the floats, you could buy mugs, you could buy ornaments. And I remember saying to you last year, oh wow, they finally figured it out and made parade merch.
Right. Which would make sense. And if they had someone like
Doesn't look like
you,
they
they would
have
have
it
done
this
that.
year.
They would have done that a long time ago. But, just saying, if they had someone like you, which they don't. So,
Well, oh, they're gonna have pumpkins this year. I don't remember seeing pumpkins.
hmm.
Oh my god, they're gonna have a dinosaur with a little baby riding on its back. That is so cute.
Another favorite Thanksgiving time tradition is we normally would go to Disney World and we would
Okay,
see
we did that like twice
fall.
though.
I feel like we did that a lot more.
No. Okay, I know four of the of 28 performers. I know four of the names here. One of which is the Temptations. Get out of town.
Nice. They're going like retro.
Yeah. And what's her name? Irina Mendel. What? No, Idina Menzel. Ooh, I flipped that around.
Wait, is there a new Frozen song I don't know about?
No, but she's probably gonna sing the Wicked song because Wicked's the latest thing right now.
Oh, that's true. Well,
28 clown crews.
that could be
That's
terrifying to certain people.
Oh, most of these are cute though.
Yeah.
Good for
Well,
them.
and so, okay, what's everyone's favorite Thanksgiving movie? And then we'll probably call it a day. Thanksgiving Day movie. What's your go to?
That's not fair. There's only like one.
That's not true.
Okay, name more than the one that we know.
planes, trains, and automobiles. That is a Thanksgiving movie.
I've never even heard of that in my life. From 1987?
Hey!
Jeez Louise.
What? It's a good movie. It's John Candy, and they're
Yeah.
trying.
John Candy, you're forgetting about the other. It's John Candy and Steve Martin.
Yeah, Steve
Oh my God,
Martin.
Kevin Bacon's in it.
Kevin Bacon's in it.
Apparently.
Oh,
Oh,
we
it
gotta
says
watch it again.
Taxi Racer.
Wow,
Maybe
we
not
gotta.
a starring role.
Well, we definitely need to watch it.
Okay, well, obviously your answer is.
Oh, Son-in-Law, hands down.
I feel like that's the only true, like, focused on Thanksgiving movie that I can. I mean,
Yeah, I did look last night because it popped up on my Facebook feed. I should have saved it for today. There's actually 13 Thanksgiving movies. Well, they said the top 13 Thanksgiving movies. One was called Thanksgiving, and it's a horror movie, which will not be what I'll be watching tonight. I feel like Children of the Corn then could be considered a Thanksgiving movie. I don't know, but uh, yeah. Um, but there were some other
looks like
ones
there's a lot of horror movies. Actually, that's interesting.
for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is a day where, people came over on a boat.
Anyway, my favorite Thanksgiving movie. Thank you so much for asking.
Raymond, get the shovel. I'm digging a hole.
Is the Santa Claus, and they eat Thanksgiving in that movie, so I'm counting it. It also doubles as my favorite Christmas movie. Though
Well,
my
okay,
Christmas
bad.
movies, there's 4 tied for 1, but maybe we'll wait until December to go that route.
Yeah. That would be fun. We should have a favorite Christmas, a share of our favorite Christmas movies.
Yeah.
You're gonna shoot your eye out. That's not my favorite, but it's one I used to watch because it was the only one that was on all night long.
They still do the 24-hour marathon.
24 hours of one movie, and
I
I
will
would
say,
catch it because I was up rapping.
two things. One, I used to think A Christmas Story was dumb as hell, but now that I'm an adult, it's pretty good. I also never wanted to watch National Lamp or Christmas Vacation. That's what it's Christmas Vacation, because I also thought this is weird. I'm not gonna like this. Watched it for the first time last year. Fantastic movie. Chef's Kiss, masterpiece, great movie.
Yeah.
Show your kids the oldies, folks.
I'm gonna stick with Why Him because it always just
All
puts
right,
a
we're just diving in right now.
no.
Santa Claus, The Grinch, Why Him, Four Christmases. There you go. If you have not seen Four Christmases with Vince Vaughn, rent it.
You left out Elf.
I hate the movie Elf. I think it is so over dramatic, so overdone, gets so much hype. It's so annoying, is what it is.
I like the good
Sorry,
old
not
fashioned
sorry.
ones where it's Bert Ives and he's the narrator, and it's
Oh,
those
the
little
classics? No.
figures.
The classics? No, stop.
Heat Miser.
The classics cannot be beat. They are creme a la creme. They are the top tier.
Yeah.
You don't even compare the classics against the new movies. It's not even fair. All the other movies lose. The classics are the only thing that matter.
Could you
Truly.
imagine if they ever wanted to like redo those?
They will ruin them. They will ruin them with this 3D animation crap that
Yeah.
is hideous. I don't know who decided to green light all this 3D animation thinking it looks good. It doesn't. Bring back the 2D cartoons.
I did like Scrooged with Chevy Chase. I did think that was good. Chevy Chase. Um, doesn't he do Groundhog Day?
I'm Googling.
Chevy Chase. Scrooged.
Oh,
That
the
was
guy
so good.
from Christmas Vacation, Chevy Chase. No. Yes.
No.
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. I like
On
the
that
kids'
note,
movies.
thanks for joining us this week, everybody.
Everyone, have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. We will not be live on Thanksgiving. Well, we may go live just for the hell of it and just for fun, but we're not doing a whole show for Moment of Presence. It will be pre recorded. We may pop in and say hi, like I said, just as a surprise. Well, I guess I ruined that. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here and letting us tell you some fun stories. Even though they may not have been fun in the moment, they're fun to look back on and say, you know what? This year it is going to be amazing. It's going to be good. And I'm sure we'll have stories to tell afterwards.
And go watch the Moment of Presence from last week titled Laugh It Off in preparation of Thanksgiving
Yes.
this week. We give a lot of great tips and tricks of dealing with family. So go back and watch that this upcoming week for on Thanksgiving. Even though it's Thanksgiving, we're going to wish you a quick Thanksgiving, but we're really going to be talking about is it really a great deal? Because I'm already getting notifications about Black Friday deals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be talking about that. And then next Monday, we are going to be on Shockingly Delightful. It will be
Mm-hmm.
December. That's right. It's going to be December. And the title of that episode is Ho Ho Hold Up. What is it about? You'll find out along with us because we haven't written it yet.
Like, is it a hold up? Like I'm being held up?
No, like ho ho hold up. Like let's talk about this.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Oh, I remember what it is. What it is. It's a good episode. Tune in next Monday for Ho Ho Hold Up. This Thursday, is it really a great deal? And have a great Thanksgiving.
Yes,
And where
absolutely.
can they find you?
And remember to be blessed for every day because you get to be. They can find me at mokshagrace.com, anywhere in social media under Moksha Grace. I have group coaching on Thursday nights. Not
Except
this
not this Thursday.
not this Thursday. But other than that, there's group coaching. That is for those that, they don't want to get into a full one on one type of situation. They just want some group coaching. They want to talk about a couple different topics and move on. That is what we do. It's a great way to be surrounded by like minded individuals going through similar situations. So definitely join us over there at the mokshagrace.com community. And then I also have a free Facebook group that is private. You just have to ask to be let in and answer the questions, and you will be in it to win it. And we are doing the thankful train in there. Woo, woo. And I'm all about the sound effects. And I'm going to share something today that I'm very thankful for that happened over the weekend that we didn't get to talk about today, but I will talk about it in there. So if you want to know, you'll have to go over there and see. Where can they find you, Krista?
You can find me at wickedwisdomconsulting.com. It's just one place for me. On Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, again, wickedwisdomconsulting.com. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Yep. Have
Bye.
a wonderful week, everybody.